Hello, this is Wildem. Welcome to the Week 2 results. Let's start by counting to 100. Guilty bystander counts 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, you get the idea. He built an interesting 25 count flip-flop. First, he built an 8 count flip-flop here, so far so good. Then he added this route here that sets the 8 count to act like a 7 count. After that, the path turns it into a 4 count by deactivating this one here on the left. And after that, 1, 2, 3, 4. This path turns it into a 6 count. So in total we get 8 plus 7 plus 4 plus 6, which is 25. How did you make that? I mean, wow. It's a pretty flip-flop, but it takes a while to run. One more thing. A few players just left their fission lasers in the corner. Why not do this? Every atom can be split, except for hydrogen, and another atom that I discovered recently, but that's besides the point. Guilty Bystander's submission was the fastest one to use this brute force fusion method, so he definitely knows his way around a flip-flop. Aquinus does a thing where he primes his bonder pump and then manages to separate thetas on each Waldo. There are two problems here. The first is that his outputs are uneven. We're getting twice as many fermiums here as we are thetas. The second is that he was only handling 1 theta per Waldo. It works, but it's not going to get someone in the top 8. Java Jesus has the same problem, but he's also handling his Waldos much more efficiently. I'm always a fan of the box and line approach, and he has the timing aspect down really well. Oh, and also, you don't need that error above output omega. Not a single person submitted a 100 cycle solution, and I'm a little disappointed, guys. Fittonizer's solution actually winds up being perfectly balanced, though it wouldn't be if he outputted his thetas a little sooner. Also, this red Waldo is pretty busy. He really crammed this path with everything he could think of, and like Java Jesus, his solution doesn't need sinks. Fittonizer placed just a bit under the 50th percentile, so nice job. Dire Spoon managed to figure out the trick to the puzzle after submitting a brute force solution. His response? Well, fuck. Sorry about that, Dire Spoon. Amphigourist squeaked into the top 8 with this solution. It carries the thetas in groups of 4 and 2 to get that even split that you need to place well. This is a good example of a puzzle that we can clean up. This is basically Amphigourist's solution. I took that long startup for blue and added it to the main route. I also moved blue's output omega from here up to the red Waldo to make room for an extra fuse. Same solution, but 12 cycles less. Someone could have made the top 8 with this. Cannonball Knine made this one and... wow, you know, you don't have to build a state machine for everything, right? This one is a bit weird in that it outputs half the thetas, then all the fermiums, then the rest of the thetas. Nice job, Cannonball Knine. You're a machine. But not nice enough. Serbeldrig demonstrates that sometimes simpler is better. He manages to break his job into 2 groups of 3, outputting 2 fermiums and 2 thetas each at a time. Well, I guess that's everything. Oh, except for GG Gall's time. GG Gall uses the 4 and 2 strategy that Amphigourist used, except much more compressed. The difference in his and Serbeldrig's time? 1 cycle. Congratulations on first place, GG Gall. Here is 3, and Rune Spasm is insane. I invite you to pause this video and try to figure out how he builds cyanuric acid. Yeah, I don't know either. I was checking out a few puzzles and realized that I had to add this one to the video. What the hell, man? Don't ever let someone tell you that you're not hardworking. I kind of regret making this puzzle take 33 outputs. Well, anyway, at least he didn't leave any stray symbols in the solution. content context performed better than half of the players with this solution. Blue builds 2/3 of the cyanuric acid, then red takes it away while blue builds the remaining third. This solution uses no sinks, only flip-flop delays. It's rather slow, but we're looking for symbols here, not cycles. This isn't Turbodrake's best solution, but I don't really have to say anything else. Waypoint submitted the 8th best solution, and it's the fastest in the top 8. It's also extremely dependent on bonder priority. First, this oxygen has to bond to the hydrogen. If you bond to the carbon instead, the reactor crashes. Next, this hydrogen has to bond to the oxygen again, not to the nitrogen. This took a little bit of time to reproduce, but it's a pretty neat way to build cyanuric acid. Blue has this laser printer thing going on, while red just rotates and bonds everything together. If you treat the cyanuric acid as 3 big atoms, the solution isn't so bad to make. Darius Rader has introduced me to yet another bug. Also, this wasn't his best solution, he actually got 6th place. Anyway, check this out. Alright, so we have 2/3 of our molecule, and we're going to add the third part. Works fine. Let's try it again, without this bonder that does absolutely nothing. Okay, what? I don't even have a good explanation for this. It just happens. Luckily, you can't really use it for solutions, so you should never have to worry about it. Here's Amphigoras with the number 3 solution. Like most of the top solutions, it treats each segment as a big atom and just does the typical bond rotate. I do like this flip-flop here. It actually resets the flip-flops at the beginning of each molecule production, like here. Kind of a neat way to build a solution that takes 3 separate paths without suffering the side effects. This one takes a while to finish, so I'll just say that it takes 2,204 cycles to complete, and move on. Cannonball Canine does a lot with a little. After building 2/3 of his molecule, he drops it, then comes back later to pick it up. Somehow, that only takes 24 symbols. This solution takes 3,019 cycles, so let's skip the rest. Finally, we have Blue-Eyed Rat. This solution is basically an improvement of Amphigoras' solution. However, instead of 3 separate paths, Blue-Eyed Rat manages to implement a surprisingly low symbol 3-count flip-flop. It's also the 2nd fastest solution in the top 8, next to Guava Moment. "1945 cycles, 24 symbols. Congratulations, Blue-Eyed Rat. Now, let's figure out how anyone managed to submit a single auto solution for precious oxygen. Precious oxygen has a few hurdles. Among them are the following. How do you get oxygen from silver and gold? How do you deal with leftover waste? And also, how can I turn this process into repeatable steps to save space? For the first question, let's look at the products of splitting silver and gold. We can't exactly fuse gold and silver directly, so at the very least we'll have to deal with these. Okay, so we have chromium, vanadium, zirconium, and yttrium. We should aim for a multiple of 8. 8, 16, 32, 64, basically anything that we can split into oxygen easily. Well, it looks like we could use chromium and zirconium to get 64. Most players built gadolinium. It's simple, straightforward, and lets you produce 4 oxygen molecules at a time. Let's look at a player who didn't do that. Print decided to create helium from repeatedly splitting gold. I didn't even know helium was a valid solution for this, so I'm pretty impressed that he came up with it. Another interesting feature is that he winds up making europium waste. Europium tends to be used for its phosphorance, like in CRT monitors, so at least there's a use for it. Britton created our slowest tool auto solution this time around, but it was a pretty hard challenge, and only 22 players finished it, so nice job. Lawallet's Me stored its vanadium and yttrium by fusing it into samarium. Most players didn't do that since it requires an extra fusion step. Still, it saves some space in the reactor, so that's nice. Leveling is very efficient with storing his intermediate atoms when he's not using them, like this sulfur here. They're almost next to his splitting stations, so he doesn't have to travel too far to get to them. Also, he does this thing where he senses the oxygen, then double backs and picks up the remaining one. It's a pretty efficient use of space. Leveling submitted the fastest 2-Waldo solution. This is the slowest single Waldo solution, but it's also one of the most versatile. Jabor could, in theory, generate just about any atom from a method like this. All he would have to do is change his flip-flop chain to count to a different number than 8. The only hard part is generating extra atomic mass when the gold starts to run out. Jabor solves this by tacking on a flip-flop system to occasionally feed in an extra silver. It's gonna be a while. That wasn't easy to make, but it's also very, very slow. Blue-Eyed Rat decided to build a nuclear reactor instead of an oxygen generator. Instead of building gadolinium like a lot of players, he created element 32, germanium. As a side effect, this reactor actually generates plutonium waste instead of vanadium and yttrium. Careful with that oxygen, it might be a little radioactive. Tough Thought uses his intermediate stick here to give special commands in certain parts of the puzzle. We have this gold redirect to throw away yttrium junk, and we also have a nice little redirect for zirconium, which we can use to throw away vanadium junk. This is another puzzle that sets up intermediate products to the side, like sulfur and germanium, before picking them up later. Tough Thought barely missed the top 8, but I'll probably get into it once I pull the scores from the players in the upper tier. Third place goes to Guava Moment, who demonstrates one of the most efficient ways to build oxygen from gadolinium, the fission stick. This was first seen by Pseudodude in last year's tournament, and it still proves to be very useful for avoiding the atom storage units that several players built. You just bond all of your fission products into the same chain, and when you detect oxygen, you know that you finished a molecule and can cut it off. Congratulations, Guava. Pseudodude grabs second place, and he decides to prove that no, you don't need to bond your vanadium and yttrium in a chain. Instead, he just bonds the products into a box shape and drops them carelessly into some corner of the reactor. Oh, and he also builds a ton of sulfur for the oxygen, because he can, I guess? Once he has it, the rest is pretty fast, just... there it goes. 4 oxygens. Pretty fast, but not fast enough. I have a hard time explaining why Carbunk's solution is faster. Part of it is that he's always using the same paths, but so did Pseudodude. He also bonds his initial fission products together, like this chromium and vanadium, which means that he can dispose of them in a group. I mean, he has this one location for the garbage dump, and this one for dropping his chromium, picking up his gold, and then fusing to gadolinium. I'm also really impressed with this flip-flop group here. He built a 7-count flip-flop, I think? He uses the sensor to go down the first time, then the second time, then up the other 6 times when building all of his oxygens. Ignoring the sensor path, yeah, that would make 7. This guy knows his flip-flops. Well, congratulations to the winners of this round, and to everyone that managed to submit something. Well, round 3 is next, guys, and it's time to learn about particle smashing. I'm excited, are you?